Dr. James Norris, Dr. J. What's up, my man?
Man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Pleasure to be on here, man.
no, it's a pleasure to have you. I'm doing all right. I see we got the East Coast, West Coast hat game going on.
Yes.
Very good, very good. We representing all, the whole nation. Hip
Yeah,
hop can save all of America,
yes,
not just.
sir.
I appreciate you. I appreciate. Although I did the thing that New Yorkers do, and I moved to Atlanta, so
uh,
we got all coasts represented, I suppose. Now we just need someone from like I don't know Michigan, Minnesota. What's at
yes.
the top? I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
geography. But what I do know is hip hop, and I know some people that are doing some incredible work in that field and using the beloved culture of hip hop to help uplift humanity and improve society. That's what we talk about. That's obviously
Yeah.
why we need to talk. You have quite a list of accolades and letters after your name. So instead of just reading off a bio, which sometimes we do, please, if you would, introduce yourself to our audience in the way that you like to be presented to the world.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. James Norris, but people call me Dr. J. I'm the other Dr. J. Uh,
Right.
and I'm currently assistant professor at the University of Cumberland. I'm also a licensed mental health practitioner in California, Washington State, and Arizona. And so I'm also, rooted in doing the mental health work. Been doing that for about 12 to 15 years in different capacities.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'm here. I grew up in the LA area. Um, Lived in Seattle, but back home in LA now.
Okay.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. It's just such a wide range of things that you do that are valuable and worth talking about. Let's start kind of at the now though, and then maybe we'll backtrack a little bit to how you got here. Obviously, I've known who you are and your work and such. There's a long list of folks that are doing good things. You're on that list that I want to talk to. But what really caught my attention is the Rhythms of Healing initiative that you've
Yeah.
launched recently. So why don't we just kind of start at the now? Tell me about this new initiative, what it does, what it's about, and what people need to know about it. And then, like I said, we'll figure out how we got here after that.
Yeah, so how it got started, I connected to the co-founder, Dana Mason. Actually, over a year ago, I met her at an event on the 50th year of hip hop
Right.
through a mutual friend. And she was in the music business for 25 years and then moved into the holistic space.
Right.
And then we started talking about what I do, what she's hoping to do, and how we can bridge hip hop in the holistic and wellness space together. And so we ended up going on this journey of creating rhythms of healing, which was really not only just integrating, but also reclaiming and showing the healing properties of hip hop, right?
Right.
And we'll use that through our skill sets, me as a mental practitioner, her as a wellness and holistic trainer. With both our love for hip hop, we're using our disciplines in hip hop as really as a bridge for people to walk across for their
Yeah.
own healing. Yeah.
Yeah. What does I have so many things that I've made note of. One of the things that you say somewhere, maybe it's in the website or somewhere, or you said it in an interview. Uh, a lot of folks use hip hop to connect, right? To
Yes.
use it to connect to different cultures or bring folks into educational spaces. But you said there's a difference between connection and healing, and the
Yeah.
healing thing is something that has to be explored and
Yeah.
utilized more often. So explain that difference and
Yeah.
how rhythms of healing, focuses on the
Yes.
healing part of the connection.
Yeah, so just in my research and my work and my engagement with hip hop my whole life, and
Right.
not necessarily as an artist, but hip hop has just been a part of what I've consumed, my whole life. And along with the research, and what I found is many folks, which I think is important too, is using hip hop to connect or as an intervention alongside of kind of other approaches,
Right.
right? And what I'm suggesting is that hip hop alone is its own healing property, right?
In of itself.
In of itself,
Yeah.
we
Got it.
don't need to add anything to it to like make it look pretty. If we just engage in hip hop in its roots, in itself, urban youth was using it for self help, right? That's its own property.
Right.
And what I'm suggesting is we can use hip hop to heal, right? With all its properties of emceeing, beat making, b-boying, the fifth element, knowledge of self, right? All these things are tools that can create healing,
Yep.
right? Within humanity and people. And so that's what really our message is that hip hop is not just what you think it is, sexism, misogyny, and all of these things that, people try to put on hip hop. While those things exist, but it's this other element of it that its roots have, and it's healing and empowerment. Right.
Yeah. Facts. Facts. What does that look like in practice? So what does real rhythms of healing, how does it, what does it look like? What kind of
Yeah.
programming do you have? I know it's still kind of in its early life, you've just
Yeah.
launched this recently. So you have a couple of things that are happening, like two different components to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, break it
Yes.
down.
Yeah. So, since we started Rhythms of Healing, and that is the longer version. So it's about a 13-week program. All
Right.
right.
And let me interrupt and just point out, this is for adults.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
another fascinating thing about it. A lot of people immediately go to youth culture, that this is when we talk about here, and there's great application of hip hop as a healing tool for
Yeah.
young people. People do
Yeah.
that all the time. This is a little bit unique in that we don't see this a lot for grown folk.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
wanted to point that out. That's an important component here. So tell me
Yeah.
about what it looks like.
Yeah. So
We
what?
need it too, man.
Yeah.
Go.
Nah, we do,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So what does this
And
look like? Yeah.
so, what it looks like is it's a cohort model. And so we'll have 13 individuals come into the cohort, and then we'll go through a 13-week process, right? And in that we'll be talking about what wellness, we'll have meditation. And so it'll be a blend of the meditation and the social emotional development,
Yeah.
along with hip hop infused in that. And what that means is we'll have like lyrics, and then doing lyric breakdown, right?
Okay.
As it pertains to wellness, right? Well balance, right? As it pertains to resilience. And so we'll have lyrics or artists, right, sharing their experience through hip hop, and we'll be sharing that with folks to really break down, to share their own lived experience, right?
Okay.
And so we're going to be engaging in hip hop through the lyric standpoint, and we're going to ask individuals in the beginning to list their top 5 or the individuals they listen to, so we can be integrating that into the content, because the whole goal is using hip hop as the foundational piece
Yeah.
to help people share their lived experiences, their challenges, maybe their mistakes, right? Their regrets, right? Through the music, right? Because what I find as a clinician is sometimes it's hard for people to really communicate their story linguistically, right?
Right.
And to use hip hop as a bridge for them to do that, whether it's writing or using someone else's lyrics to really help share their own,
Yeah.
is the basis of our framework.
Yeah. Going through your history as a clinician, as someone that was doing this work, surely you didn't start incorporating hip hop into your therapy the minute you started in this field, because that's not a thing that is automatic yet, these days. How did you, as a hip hop head, like you said, you're not an artist, but you're a hip hop guy, work that into what you decided to go, down a path as your career?
Right.
When did that transition happen? Was it something that you thought you wanted to do? Was it something you experienced elsewhere? How did you start mixing these worlds?
Well, so when I was in my master's degree, I got my master's degree in psychology program, but the basis of the program was around existentialism and phenomenology. And so basically existentialism is about existence, right?
Right.
And then phenomenology is about individual subjective experiences, right? And so when I started diving into that, right, is really understanding what happened in people's lives or what experiences they have really impacts how they exist in the world, right?
Okay, sure.
And then that also gives them a subjective experience of how they want to be and exist and how they want to present themselves.
Right.
And I mean, an existentialist wouldn't say this, a traditional one, but for me,
Right.
that's hip hop,
Mm,
right?
right.
Because those experiences engaging in hip hop culture really shape how you exist in the world,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And what your subjective experiences are. And so while I was doing this work, not necessarily, attaching hip hop in it, when I was engaging with youth, adults, I was really connecting to their lived experiences, right? And helping them navigate that to live a healthier life. And so as I was moving through that work and then got into my doctoral studies and started really looking at this, because hip hop has always been in the backdrop of everything that I've done.
That's right.
Right.
That's how
And
it is
then,
when you're of the
yeah,
culture. It's
yeah,
it follows you around. It's
yeah.
part of it's how you see things.
It's how you see things.
Yeah.
And then I started reading literature and seeing other folks talk about it, the Emdens, the Levies,
Yep.
Dr. Raphael Travis,
Yeah.
some folks from Oakland. And so I was in my reading while I was in my doctoral studies, and I was like, man, this is it. How can I incorporate this in my work? Because not only is it so relevant, but I started to reflect on my own life, right? And realize, and I tell people, I can't remember a time when music didn't exist in my life,
Right.
right? Hip hop, R&B. I tell people, I still remember my mom when I was a kid playing the Mary J. Blige's album, My Life, the whole album, right? Right. I remember having the Me Against the World CD, the CD, right? And putting it in a CD player, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
these things were also connected to my healing and lived experience growing up.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
The influence is
yeah,
not just, as you said earlier, as you alluded to, it's not always like the negative experience. It's just the experience. It's the whole, human experience
yes,
that you
right.
push and pull from music/culture.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
This it's not a planned question or whatever. This is just now us kicking it, but like, it's also something about hip hop that does that in a, I guess, deeper way than other genres or other subcultures. It's something that's more, I don't know, visceral, right?
Yes.
Why hip hop? Why does this is what people don't get who are not associated with. So how do you explain to folks who are outside of this when you're doing psychology work and they're like, yes, it's music. Yeah, we all love music. I was shaped by music, but it's different, right?
Yeah. And I think what makes hip hop different is it's just not a musical genre.
Right.
Right. It's a culture. Right. It's a way of being in the world. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's
so
foreign to some people. They don't understand the depth.
Yeah, because you can play and I'm not saying country music because I went and saw Chris Stapleton and his concert was off the hook, right?
Yeah.
And so yes, these genres, they're genres and they're powerful in their own right. But hip hop, its inception, right? Its birth changes how it is compared to other genres. It birthed out of this way of empowerment, right? Raising one's voice, right? Social activism. And so it wasn't just, oh, let's do these beats, let's rap. No, it built out of a community movement that gives it a lot more depth than just music, right?
That breaks it down well. So going back to the program, going back to your work, those communities from whence hip hop came, right, generally are the ones, and of course, hip hop is universal. It's grown everywhere. You find it in every corner of the world. However, going back to those communities, communities that have birthed it, nurtured it through all those years, they have been communities that have been traditionally underserved and under-resourced and underloved by society at large, particularly when you talk about areas like mental health, health and wellness in general.
Yeah.
So obviously the work you do is to counter some of that. Speak to the importance of that, of finding ways to counter
Yeah.
ways that folks have been underserved in these
Mm.
fields.
Well, I mean, I think it's important why this work is so important, and why I think why it's important to me too is have gone through the traditional training, psychology, clinical mental health training,
Yeah.
um, and being a theorist myself, understanding that all the 10 conventional theories that individuals that are trained to be counselors, all those were built by white men,
Right.
right?
Right.
In a certain time,
Right.
right? As well,
A
right?
while ago.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I think that's important, right? I
Right.
think it's what's important, not so that they were white men, will while people will point to that as heavy
Sure.
too, but I think also the time in which they were building these,
Right.
right? These theoretical frameworks. And so what we have now is counselors coming out and they're doing work based off those frameworks, right?
Right.
And so they're trying to, they're trying to solve current problems with 20 and 19th century ideas,
Right.
right?
Sure.
And so what I try to tell my counselors that I even teach as an educator, I said these theories, we have to remix them.
Right.
And they always crack up.
Right.
But then they were like, we do. And I like that. We got to remix them. And so part of my work is not negating the work, right? That folks have done, psychologists on the mind, human behavior.
Sure.
But how can I take that knowledge that I have and now remix it and make it applicable to the communities and people that I'm engaging? Because linguistically, they're not going to understand that. Right.
Sure.
So
Right.
it's part of my responsibility now to change that linguistically so they can understand how to live a healthier life without using jargon that's foreign to them.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea of culturally relevant or culturally
Yeah.
responsive and culturally
Yeah.
affirming,
Yeah.
all those lines.
Yeah. And so, and I think that's important. And then the other piece of it too for me is letting folks know that we have the tools to heal within our community, right? We don't need necessarily this outside entity to give us something to be better in our lives, right?
Right. Right. Right.
It's already embedded in us. So I just believe it's helping people find that and cultivate that. And we see that all the day long in hip hop. And I think a perfect example to point to is a Nipsey Hussle, right? So all the things that the world got to see eventually, you can't tell me those things weren't in him.
Right.
He just began to cultivate those things, right?
Right.
Within himself. And that blossomed into the person that we eventually saw. And so part of the work is letting people know that we have these tools and we can use the things available to us. The things that we listen to every day, we do every day, can be affirming for us to get to where we want to be on a positive tip.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like to a lay person, you know what I mean? Like, and I've heard enough folks talk about this stuff to know that, like, obviously you got the receipts. It works. We've seen it work.
Yeah.
Like you said, you've seen examples. That's a great example. But it's the ability to not have to go outside of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you still have to extract from within the community because it's not something that the community knows how to do yet.
Yes.
And those stigmas are still there.
No, they are still. They're still there. They're still there.
And this helps, but this helps break it down. This helps break through those barriers.
No, absolutely. And I think that we're the more that we're talking about it, the more that folks are being open about it. I think it's great. But I always say where we have to be careful at is when we start talking about, people are talking about mental health and the importance of it a lot now. And where we have to be careful is there are people that want to capitalize off that financially on the suffering of people. And it's not genuine. And so that's why we also have to have the knowledge and understand what we need to do to within the community, right? And giving folks the information and the knowledge,
Yeah.
so they could do some self-healing work, but have the proper resources as well
Yeah.
when they need to connect with a professional. And I think that is the holistic approach that we're thinking about, right? Because we know Rhythms of Healing and myself can't do it all, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But we can be a landing place and have networks and partners that we know that if we send people to, they can get help, the help
Yes.
that they need, right? So
Yeah.
I think that is a part of it too, is having the program, but more so creating an ecosystem, right?
Right.
So
Like you say, the networks.
yeah,
Because there are, as you know, I mean, not many people do what I do, which is like talk to you and also Dr. Levy and
yeah,
Raphael Travis is a good friend, and we here's one place where y'all are all like, and it's not like a journal, like maybe y'all all in the same journal,
yeah,
but people who might see one of their programs but live in LA might not even know about your program,
yeah,
because there's that disconnect in
yeah,
this this overall idea of hip hop healing in different ways for young people. And again, I just want to come back to the adult aspect of it, because you talk
yeah,
about the community needing these resources. One of the best ways to do that is to get to the adults, and then
yes,
once they realize it, then again, each one teach one. Now
yeah,
they're able to say, well, how can I apply this? Maybe I work in a school, and I could now
yes,
bring that into the school. So again, the importance of reaching adults
mm-hmm.
who look, we grown. We know now. We know that like going to a therapist is actually all right. It's like we
Yeah,
should be
yeah,
doing that. Like we're okay. There's been
yeah,
enough talk about that, especially pandemic
yeah,
helped bring that on.
yeah,
But we don't think that we can go to a hip hop counselor. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? Like we might say, you might say, I feel like maybe I'm more comfortable speaking with a black woman or a black man, or
Mm-hmm.
someone from my or whatever, or older person or younger person. Because I don't know if sometimes I feel weird about young therapists. Like you're too young. I don't know. Like you know what I mean? You might not know like enough. I've been through some things.
Yeah.
But to say that like I can connect with someone who understands me culturally, that's powerful as an
Yes.
adult. And that's something you're providing. I'm telling you, that's something I don't
Yeah.
see a lot of. So
Yeah.
once again, just the importance of,
Yeah.
of teaching adults and,
Yeah.
and how that might differ
Yeah.
from, I assume you've worked with many age ranges. Is that safe
Yes.
to
Yeah.
assume?
Yes.
How does, don't give me the secret sauce to the whole,
Yeah.
the whole thing, but how is it working with adults? I think that's so vital.
I mean, I think what makes it different, I think you can talk at a different, in a different way, right? Than you would be talking to youth. I think that you can be more directive, right? You can challenge because we're adults here. Um, while some folks are still struggling internally, so you do have to be thoughtful, even if they're
Sure.
adults, right?
Right.
But I think it just changed the dynamic of how you can engage that process.
Yeah.
But then I think the other piece and why it's so important to engage this is similar to your point. If we're going to have community change,
Right.
a lot of times the focus is on the youth, right? And I know the youth, they are our future,
Right.
but they can't be our future if they don't have proper stewardship by the adults,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so and then also, and I tell my clients, I even tell adults this, I say everything that I'm asking you to do and that I'm challenging you to do in the work that I'm telling you that's important,
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask you to do anything that I haven't done or not willing to do. Right. And I think that is the piece that's critical when talking to adults, having them do their work. So when they are engaging with you, they're not responding to the youth based on their trauma. Right.
Okay.
And then that's where the disconnect happens. Now
Right.
you can't even help this young person, because now every time they say things, they bring up
It triggers
it triggers you,
right
from your experience. Now you're engaged in something that's unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
And so us as adults, we need to do our work, know our blind spots, know our trauma. So when youth are coming at us, we're not responding to that, right?
Right.
because that is where then if we do, we're gonna respond back that we know that's gonna be unhealthy because now, okay, I feel like you're coming at me. So
Yep, yep.
I'm gonna show you where I'm from.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yep, yep.
And what I've been through instead of recognizing, okay, you're trying to bait me, right? You're trying to pull out my experiences that I'm working through to engage with you, but I'm not going to do that because I've been doing this work,
Right.
right? And so now I can engage that youth in a very different way, right?
Wow.
Then
Yep.
and I've seen it in real time that adults haven't dealt with their trauma and ultimately they're responding to children and young people in ways that's creating more damage than healing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Uh,
we see that all. You could,
we say,
unfortunately, you see it all
yeah,
the time. You could just tell in a way a parent interacts with a child
yeah,
that's getting on their nerves.
yes,
Just on a regular day, everyday thing. You see somebody react and like, ooh, this is bigger than this kid. Like
yeah,
this,
yeah,
this
yes,
kid's got
yeah,
getting on the nerves. But I've had kids get on my nerves. I'm not,
yeah,
there's something else going on there,
yeah,
and there's
yeah.
unresolved stuff.
Yeah. And so I think
So,
the whole idea with the adult work is community healing, right?
yeah,
I mean, I know the main focus is youth, and I know it's important to work with our youth. But our adults are a part of the community too.
yeah,
And
100%. I mean, the thing that pops into my mind is they tell you on the airplane if the oxygen thing has come down, your instinct is to put it on the kid because you want to save your kid, but they tell you put it on yourself first because you can't help that kid if you're knocked out.
yep,
So
absolutely,
that's the
absolutely,
analogy. Yeah, 100%. It's brilliant work. Now, you're talking about community and working with adults in the community, but it also sounds like you're like, ooh, this could be applied to other folks in your field directly.
yes,
So how is that something you're doing or thinking about? Or, like I said, I talk to a lot of teachers that work at the graduate school of education, so they're
yeah,
teaching teachers. Are
yeah,
you teaching other therapists or maybe therapist is the right, term, other
yeah.
mental health professionals? Some of the stuff you're learning, is it like, do you have are you publishing, research? Like what are you
Yeah.
doing to try to get other folks in your field to understand what you're doing?
Uh, well, I'm doing all those things,
Okay.
right?
I'm
So I'm,
glad because if you were doing
yeah,
none of them, you'd be like,
yeah,
no, man, I haven't done any of these things. Why are you
yeah,
calling me out like that?
yeah,
Like I'm
yeah.
getting to
No,
it.
no. So I'm publishing. Actually, Dr. Ian Levy and I recently, about 2 months ago, we just had two publications come out.
Okay.
Um, um, and then we have a book chapter that's under review right now around hip hop.
Dope.
And then I recently had a book chapter come out with a psychiatrist on neural informed counseling, and we talk about music and the brain. And so I'm talking about music, hip hop, and how that helps with neural pathways, right?
Mm.
And neuroplasticity music. So I'm talking about that, which is
I
out.
know what all those things mean.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, basically, I mean, from the brain piece and, the neural pathways, we have all these pathways in our brains, and through talk therapy, through music,
Yep.
we can rewire those pathways, so we're operating healthy ways, right?
Yep.
Because even when we have trauma experiences, it has an impact on our brain, right? And
Yep.
how it's wired. And that's why we can have those trauma responses, right? Because now our brain is wired that way based on experience.
Right.
So
But you can rewire it.
you
It's
can
not
rewire it.
permanent.
It's
Yeah.
not permanent. You can rewire it through talk therapy. And then
Yep.
also the data shows us that music is one of those properties that can rewire and help with neuroplasticity, right? Neuroscientists have the data to show this as well, right?
Yep.
And so doing this publishing work, and also Ian and I, it's just getting finalized, but we signed a book deal with Wiley Publishing.
Okay.
And over the next year, we're going to be actually creating a new counseling theories book.
Mm.
And we're going to be going through all the conventional theories with the hip hop lens.
Okay. That's
Hasn't been done yet, right?
That's it. That's
So,
lovely.
and then we're going to end it with the hip hop counseling theory that I
Yeah.
developed, right? So
Very dope. Well,
Yeah,
Levy's a good guy to be doing this with. I'll tell you that
yeah,
much.
yeah,
I was just,
yeah,
yeah, I've had him on a few times. He's always, next level, next level, next level. So I'm
yeah.
encouraged to see. You'll send me the links to the all the publishing that you've just
Yes,
done that's
yeah,
out already, so we can get that to the people.
yeah.
Well, that's exciting stuff. Where does the rhythms of healing and again, there was another component to it that I don't know if we touched on, because you talked
Yeah.
about rhythms, and then there's a community.
Community care, community care.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Yeah.
How do those two components differ? I wanted to make sure we
Yeah.
covered that.
Well, so the community care is a condensed version of the rhythms of healing, and it's built off my care model that I developed,
Yep.
which is connectedness, acknowledgement, resilience, and emergence.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go through those components in the community care. And so instead of having the cohort 13-week, the goal is to have these community cares, which could be like 1-day workshops or multiple days, 2 or 3 days that we're in the community to really introduce them to, the hip hop, but also healing practices through hip hop,
Right.
without actually going through the cohort
Committing to a
model.
whole long
Yeah,
thing. Got it.
yeah.
Got it.
And
It's
so,
it's a warm up. It's
yeah,
a
it's a warm up, and it gets people introduced to us and the work, right?
got it.
And it gives them a process of how to begin to work that, and then from there they could go into the larger cohort, right?
Right.
So the community care.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant. So is that something you do independently, or do you work with like government agencies, or do you, there's a festival, do you go interact with them, or is it just like you're being commissioned, so to speak? How does that work?
So right now, folks could,
And how do you
reach.
want it to work? Because then,
Yeah.
we'll try to encourage what the
Yeah.
next level might look like.
So the goal is to be able to go into schools, be in the community, be in public and private spaces that want to access this,
Right.
to begin a process of, community healing. Right.
Right.
And so I think that can be in any space. We're gonna be doing it in at a community college, Los Angeles Community College. At the end of September, we're gonna do a 6-week community care program with those community college students. And so this is something that people can access in schools, in the community,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In corporate spaces, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's the real goal.
That's dope.
And then hopefully that the goal is that it's a bridge to the rhythms of healing, like intensive program, right? Which is a cohort, which that you're committing 13 weeks, right? And say, hey, I want to, but this gives you a nice taste and see if you want to move to that. All right.
Yeah, that makes sense. The cohort is you've had your inaugural cohort. I was looking at the dates. I think it's like just about to finish. Is that right? Or is it in the middle, or what's the timeline on that?
Yeah, so we initially wanted to have a start date last year, or the end earlier this year. We were gonna do our first cohort, but what we realized is, not enough people knew what we were doing, right?
Got it.
And so that's why we all decided, let's create the community care.
Got it.
So we can kind of go in the community, people can get to know who we
Introduce
are.
the idea. Yeah.
And then folks will be more willing to now sign up for the intensive, because it's kind of hard to tell people, hey, come pay for this 13-week. This is what you're going to get.
Right.
But they don't know who you are and they haven't seen you do anything yet. Right. Which I understand. Right.
Sure.
And so we've made it a point to say, hey, we just got to do some things, let people know what we're doing, the work that we're doing, and then also use the equity that I have in my research and, me as a practitioner and as an educator at a university, and kind of just let folks know this is what we're doing.
Yep.
And this is what we're cultivating.
Yeah. Right? Well, I'm happy to get the word out as well. I think folks that know us, this is the type of stuff they're looking for and want to know more about, and we'll spread the word. Obviously, if you got folks in the area, LA area, they should look out, contact you guys and try to see, when you might be popping up. It's like a pop-up. It's like a pop-up therapy.
Yes,
I like it.
absolutely. And then I know we have mentioned I may need to make sure I mention this because you were asking about am I helping cultivate or bringing other practitioners or educators and using hip hop. I think you saw it on LinkedIn. This on the 30th, I'm gonna be dropping the hip hop counseling certificate program,
Yes.
which is gonna be for uh, clinicians, mental health counselors, school counselors, social workers, educators, administrators. And it's a fully online self-paced program. And then you'll have 4 live sessions with me and Ian actually
Nice.
discussing how you can implement these things from an educational standpoint, from a clinical, from a community, and from a professional development standpoint. And so it's going to be a holistic certificate program, hip hop counseling certificate program, drops on the 30th. So
Like an album.
yes,
Yeah. First of its kind, I would imagine. I mean, I haven't heard of anything like this. And
Yes.
it's, again, coming from yourself and Dr. Levy, some, I guguess y'all know what you're talking about. You said plasticity and all that stuff. It sounds right to me. So that's important. That's big. And so people sign up for that. I assume that's there's a pay structure for that. And that's you said self-paced. How long do you anticipate like it takes someone to go through something like that?
I think that I have 8 modules and then like a couple just additional education modules, but the main modules, it'll take based on the narration in one sitting if you decide to go through all the modules
Right,
in
like
one
a play,
time.
like a video game, like a play.
Yeah.
How long to finish the game?
I mean, I think to be maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours if you just sit down. When I was sitting down, kind of going through everything myself, it took me about like 2 hours. There's narration and stuff.
Sure.
So you could speed it up if you want to, the narration, but in one sitting, and I'm not gonna go anywhere. Probably 2 hours and 30 or so.
That's reasonable. I've taken certificate things that have been a lot longer than that. And you said live sessions as well. So there's a live interactive component.
Yes, yeah. Once you complete the program, I'll have a sign up sheet embedded in there so you can sign up. And then we'll send you the link and it'll be an hour live session, right? Yeah. You'll have 4 of those and then you'll be good to go.
What I imagine is, and you said it, that this is not just other mental health professionals, but educators, teachers, certainly anyone I guess that's doing something where there's interaction with people,
yes.
That you want to uplift or heal or just improve relationships. This could be valuable for anybody in a variety of fields. Yeah,
absolutely. And to your point, I haven't seen anyone do this yet, and I felt like it was important that we have a certificate program where now we're training people how to use hip hop in the healing space, man.
Yeah. And like I said, it all circles back around to the idea that hip hop by itself is a healing space. Hip hop by itself is a healing thing. It's clearly it's catharsis. And the way you talk about, it's how people see the world, and it's how itself. One of the things I love the most about it is that ability to kind of create your own identity. If you put yourself, this is how I want to be. Like, I'm a grown ass man calling myself Manny Faces because that's what I want you to know me as. I don't want you to know me by my government name. This is who I've cultivated my identity to be. You know what I mean? You're Dr. J, the other Dr. J. Like that's but that goes back to its beginnings where it's like I want the world to see me. I don't feel seen. I'm gonna tag this subway. It's gonna go all around the city. You're gonna know my name. You're gonna see my style. You're gonna know who I am. And that's something that's missing in a lot of these traditional spaces.
Absolutely.
We just don't get. We walk in feeling like I gotta be Okay, I gotta lie on the couch. That's why I gotta do right. Don't we lie on couches in here? This is what we do, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and so it feels foreign. But to say that no, we're gonna find a way that you keep your identity when you walk in this counseling
Come
space.
on.
That's super valuable.
No, it's huge. I mean, and even like I was, we started classes, the fall term.
Yeah.
And, students were coming in because I do some work at a community college too,
Hmm.
and they see me with my, LA fitted hoodie and, you know, it's hip hop.
Right.
And I can tell they're like, are you the professor or are you,
Right.
but I
You,
think,
you
what,
lost.
yeah, but, I think for me, what I realize is that, it's important, um, and I heard this from Dr. Christopher Emden a long time ago. You know, he was talking about this hybridized identity
Mm.
to some students, um, and how can you be this hybrid, right? How can you be able to navigate multiple spaces and be authentically who you are, right? And I think that for me has been important, not just for myself and my own identity and the
Yeah.
way in which I want to be seen in the world and navigate the world, but also a call to action to other folks that you can wear a LA fitted snapback and still be a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Amen.
You don't have to be a certain way.
Yep.
You can be who you are and be highly educated, respectful, respected,
Absolutely.
and creating change. And then when you need to get suited up, you can.
Of course.
Right?
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well, that representation obviously matters. You do it quite well, sir, and I'm very honored and privileged myself to be able to pass that on to whoever's paying attention to me. There are people who pay attention to me. I'm being very modest,
Yeah.
but to pass it along and to share your work, it's an honor.
Nah, I'm grateful as always, for, people to reach out and, see what I'm doing is valuable and, want to offer it to other people. I'm grateful for you to, reaching out and allowing me, to be here and, speak my truth, speak what, my vision is and what my reality is.
Yeah.
And, and hopefully it's a help to anyone that decides to listen.
Yeah. And I appreciate the appreciation. We'll continue to do it. You got anything else to update me? Please come back or just hit me up. I'll spread the word. I have a newsletter as well.
That's
Newsletter
right.
goes out to 1,500 people that think like we think. So there's always someone in that chain of, of dots that, might have something to, that could add value or, that needs your services. So we'll make sure we keep spreading the word. Anything else that I didn't cover that you want to get out to the people? I know, once again, the certificate program dropping on the 30th of this month, a couple days away, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, that's something they should, and of course, rhythms of healing. We'll put up the website. We'll link to everything. Anything else that I've missed?
No, that's it. Just, I'll, August 30th, it drops. I'll be putting a link to access the certificate program on LinkedIn. There are some people that email me directly so they can get the link privately. So I'll be getting that out to folks. If you're thinking about cost, it's $99.
Okay.
And I was intentional about that because it's a certificate program and I want everyone to, you'll come back 2 years to research and we'll have more information, more updated research. So you're going to be getting new information when you're coming back with your recertification. So
Okay, very dope. This will air after that, but I'll make sure that it goes out to our newsletter folk as well to make sure that everyone knows, who wants to get down with the get down. All right,
appreciate
Dr. J,
you.
my friend, thank you for taking some time out. Glad we could work out the scheduling issues, and I look forward to crossing paths again, digitally or in real life. One of these days soon. I gotta come out to the West Side.
Yeah, and I gotta come to where you're at.
That's what's up. All right, my man. Thank you again.
All right,
We'll
take
talk
care,
soon.
brother.
Peace.
Peace.
Manny Faces. You sick for this one.